The Great Hornell Fair, 1860 through 1929.
The first agricultural society was known as the Hornellsville Agricultural Society, of which the late Maury Thatcher was the first president. The first fair was held in year 1856 in a barn which was in the midst of an orchard of large apple trees, and to the trees in the orchard was tied the horses and cattle which laid claim to the best blood the country afforded.
Well, so when it started, I think it was more like a farmers club.
Oh yeah, I read about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was livestock, and it was showing of livestock and promoting farming, equipment, agriculture, seeding, and etc. So it was all agricultural, and then it grew. And it grew into several different venues. It was the Farmers Club, the Hornell Agricultural Society, and then ultimately it was the Great Hornell Fair. It had several different areas that it was located. Originally, I think, don't you think it was in what do you call it?
High school. Yeah, it was by the high school. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, Union Park.
Mm-hmm.
So first in Union Park, so it must have been very small, and it must not have had a lot of livestock, because even though it was a big park, it wasn't meant for livestock, even back then, because I don't believe at that time, well yes, there was a fountain there at that time. They had at the other end of Hornell, right where the high school is now, they had the Babcock racetrack. So he had races and dog races and etc., but mostly horse racing there. And then you can also drive. So they needed some place to take their carriages and horses and just a nice little drive around town. Way back when. Very mild driving, leisure driving. So they used that as the first fair, that area. So the Joneses, driving park. And then it grew to become the Farmers Club and then the Great Hornell Fair.
In 1856, the Hornellsville Agriculture Society was established and began sponsoring the Hornellsville annual fairs, which continued to grow and become a highlight in the area. Located with what is now the Hornell High School in Spurtsfield.
And you know where the high school is? And you know there's a grandstand across from it?
Yeah.
You know, there's a field, the football field, the track? Okay, well, this grandstand was what was there then. It was a bit bigger, and it was wooden, and eventually it burned down, but it was big, and they had a track. The high school wasn't there, so they had that whole area to put up stuff, okay? Because they had exhibitions. They had, like in the Bath Fair, you got animals and stuff. Okay, they had horses and cows and sheep, all kinds of stuff. They had all kinds of products like that we grow, farm crops and stuff. And my grandfather, who was the head of the fair, he was called the secretary of the fair.
The fair had lots of acts like horse and dog races, acrobats, and aerial performers, and livestock competitions. In 1888, they offered a $3,000 purse for the winner of a horse.
Site of the first dog show in USA, 1885.
That's true. The 7 acrobatic wonders of the world.
The Melvin brothers, at the time America's most sensational gymnasts and equilibrists, did flips, somersaults, and seemingly impossible tricks. They performed dangerous and difficult stunts to thrill their audience.
People would come from all of western New York, Rochester, Buffalo, Olean, the whole place would come. And they literally had thousands and thousands of people. And if you take a look at this, you can get an idea of what the people look like and whatever. And some of the other things they had, you can see in the middle is a blimp. You know what a blimp is? Mm-hmm. They had blimp rides. You could get on and go for a blimp ride. I mean, they had everything. They had acrobatic planes come by. They did all kinds of stuff.
Ferris wheel.
Hornell native Jay Conderman built the first Ferris wheel for the Great Hornell Fair in 1893.
Ferris wheel was the first to be constructed in this section of the country. The Hornellsville crew would take the wheels all over the country for demonstration, and they became very popular with the viewers.
But it was a Ferris wheel made in Hornell. And it was made, I believe, right there on the T of Maple Street and Seneca Street. Yes. And right back there, right where almost where Steuben Trust is right now, there was a Conderman garage there and a Conderman building there. And they
Wheel on the road in 1899 and proudly announced in his ad and billboard that his wheel was the largest on the road.
However, he ran ads offering new and used Conderman wheels. It is not known whether these new wheels were remainders of production in the Hornell plant or built somewhere else. We do know that Conderman maintained business ties to Hornell and moved back to his hometown in about 1927.
There was a carriage manufacturer here up on Seneca Street, right there in front of Steuben Trust. It was called Coddington's. They started building Ferris wheels and merry-go-rounds. And they ended up building, a horseless carriage, or a carriage, Condiments car. A number of years ago, I rode in a parade in an electric car that was built in 1898 here in Hornell by the Conderman brothers, and it ran on batteries. Someone found that car in a barn and rehabbed it, and it was a carriage. It had like a stick driving, and it had stick driving and a little brake and accelerator, but it ran on batteries.
Leaving the Ferris wheel business as his main interest, Jay Conderman moved to Chicago, where he became a successful real estate broker.
Conderman wheels apparently ended when the plant on Seneca Street was destroyed by fire. J. Conderman died on August 9, 1929, and was buried in Hornell's Rural Cemetery. A few Conderman wheels survived the death of their designer in 1929 and continued to operate at carnivals and county fair, but eventually they were replaced with newer wheels.
Livestock and horse races.
Yeah, they had trotters, which are the horse. I don't think they had horse races with the people in the saddle, but you know what the trotter is? It's where they have the horse and the guys in a cage behind it, and they go around. They had those. Yeah, they had a lot of those. They had those kind of races and stuff. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Livestock exhibits. The fair held free attractions. The chief attraction at the Great Hornell Fair for several years had been the livestock exhibits. The livestock exhibits had included a sheep exhibit, a horse exhibit, cattle exhibit, and there were about 2,000 birds of 100 different varieties. The grandstand.
Well, they would, the grandstands were huge, even high, almost as high or higher than the ones we have right now at Maple City. And they were full of bystanders who all came out to the fair because we didn't have television, We didn't have a lot of entertainment, no movie theaters. This was their entertainment. This was their social aspects, going to a fair like this. They had incredible acrobatic feats with no netting. There was poles put up, and they would walk across the wires with no netting. Yes, they would jump off a ledge into a, and then they had small animal acts around the base of these. So it was a big draw.
In 1909, a new grandstand that seated nearly 1,800 was built for $8,500 after the old one burned in 1908. The flames were first reported at 2:04 p.m. In the 2 hours, firemen poured approximately 50,000 gallons of water, 417 gallons per minute.
In 1888, a 3,000 purse was given to the winner of the horse race.
Ruth Law landed at the fairgrounds during her record-breaking flight.
There was also a special exhibition of horsemanship by a detachment of 11 state troopers.
Mr. Ostrander entered a prized cow, then sold it for $3,200 during the fair.
The mayor of Hornell had contacted Clyde Schultz, my grandfather, and said, okay, we're going to start charging fees and sales tax and stuff, which they hadn't done before. And Clyde said, no. We've been here 25, 26 years. It's never happened. We're not going to do it. We're not going to pay you to do that. We bring in a ton of business for the city because all these people that are here come from far and wide, and some of them got to go to stores, some goes to, a restaurant or cafe or what have you. And Mayor said, no, we're going to do it. So Clyde said, okay, that's it. There's no more fair. And it closed up. That was it. They never had it after that.
April 20th to April 23rd, 1929 were the last days the fair was open.
The fair closed due to lack of finances.
The Great Hornell Fair was still missed 22 years after the fair closed.